going on, guys? This is Chris. I'm over here at Metroflex Gym. I want to talk to you guys today about how to get into a deep squat and different components of mobility that you need to get into that deep squat. A lot of people don't understand this, but when you're trying to get down, one, a lot of people try to take these really wide stances and they try to push their hips back and get really, really deep. Now that's okay if you're a geared powerlifter and you're using a suit. But if you're a bodybuilder or just somebody looking to increase their strength without the help of assistance gear, then you're gonna have to squat with a little bit more of a narrow stance. So the problem a lot of people have is keeping this narrow stance and actually getting down and getting low enough. Now, one of the things that you need to be able to do in order to do this is to be able to push your knees out and have some hip flexibility to do that. So that's gonna look a little like this: pushing your knees out, getting down as low as possible, and then driving up. So there's going to be a component of being able to push your knees out, having some hip flexibility there to get down there, and not letting your hips tighten up and sock you at this point here so that you're just at parallel. So there's a few different things we're going to do, and I'm going to run through those with you today. Big things that messes us up is scar tissue around the hips and around the IT bands. And one of the primary ways we have of getting rid of that scar tissue or easing up that scar tissue is by myofascial release or foam rolling. So there's a few different areas you want to work on. The first thing I'm going to go over is the IT band. You know, I see a lot of people doing this and they just get on the foam roller like this and they roll up and down. Now, you want to kind of actively get rid of that scar tissue because it's going to be based on movement. So what you do is you get on here, start high in the hip, turn your foot up a little bit to expose that IT band, and make sure you're on there. Now get over there, roll down to a really tender spot right there, turn that up, bring it back and forth about 4 or 5 times to try to work that knot out, because those knots are going to really prevent you from getting down to where you need to be. The IT band is not a muscle, it's a piece of fascia, runs up and down the leg, and it's really tough, so you really have to get in there. This foam roller is actually not hard enough for me. I'm gonna need a piece of concrete or a piece of PVC, and you can definitely use that in order to get up and down. Even though this is pretty soft, I'm still feeling it, but I'm gonna need a little bit deeper of a myofascial release here. So that's the first way of getting some of that stuff out. The other ways you can do, you want to get into the psoas. The psoas is a muscle that runs all the way up here, and this might be a little bit big, so what you can do is you can get like a dumbbell or something like that and jam it in there. And what you can do is get in there and really jam that in there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Bring that up and down. Try and release that. Now this muscle runs from here all the way up the back. So if that muscle's tight, your back's gonna be tight, everything's gonna be tight in there. So, and then the other thing you really wanna do is work on your glutes. So, try and get in there, jam that right there into any knots in the glute. You wanna get the glute medius, which runs up here. And then what you do is you cross your leg, you just really roll in here. And when you get to a sore spot, just hold it there for about 30 seconds. You see my foot shaking here, that hurts a little bit. And this is the stuff that's really just gonna hammer out those knots. Once you're done foam rolling, then that's when you can stretch, because what you're doing here is loosening up the fascia. That prevents the muscle from stretching to a certain point. Loosening up the fascia actually lets you stretch the muscle to a point where you're gonna get some benefit out of it, and I'll show you some stretches next. As I said, the problem with getting into a deep squat is really external rotation of the hip, or being able to push this hip out. So a lot of these muscles in here are going to really need to be mobile in order for you to do this. So one of my favorite exercises in getting there is actually a modified pigeon. Come in here, stretch down, get that glute, okay, push out there. Now this is going to work your glute medius, which again runs up here. That's really going to help you in mobilizing the push on your squat. So getting your legs going, getting your hips driving forward. You're gonna hold this again for about 30 seconds, allowing the muscle to relax. My next favorite exercise is coming down here, almost like a warrior one position from yoga. Coming down here, stretching back, really trying to reach back. You can wear both hands there if you want. And what that's doing is that's releasing everything up here, bringing everything down. And then the final one I want to go over is this one here. Picking up this kettlebell, holding it like a goblet. It's a goblet squat, coming down into the squat position. Just pushing out with your arms. You get a really good stretch there. That again is going to help you mobilize those hips, keep everything going. Oh yeah, hold that again for about 30 seconds. Now, we've gone through those. Now I'm going to go over some rack positions and setting up for the front and back squat. So go ahead and cut. One of the things I really recommend to my clients is doing the front squat, because that creates thoracic extension, it works your core. It's a much more athletic position than the back squat, and it's great for football players, fighters, bodybuilders, pretty much anybody who wants to get stronger. A lot of people you see coming in like this, and they fold their arms over. Now the problem with this is that the muscles in my back, if you watch me come around here, the muscles in my back aren't really fully engaged. They're not really helping me with the weight at all. So I'm not really getting a full benefit out of that. But if I come in with the rack position, right? Now what I mean by the rack position, the Olympic rack position, and come in here, bring everything underneath, and now everything's being held up, right? So I gotta keep these elbows forward. Now you're probably saying to yourself, what is the benefit? It looks really uncomfortable. Well, watch from the back. Watch how my back begins to support the weight. All the muscles in my back are supporting that weight up. I'm holding it up there, and my core is going to be fully activated and mobile. Getting into the front rack position can be difficult, and so you're going to need to work on some flexibility in order to get there. Wrist flexibility, lat flexibility. One of my favorite exercises for doing this is just to bring my arm back, holding this, and just holding this for about 30 seconds. Now this is going to help you get the lat flexibility that you need in order to create that thoracic extension. The next thing you're going to do is work on your wrist flexibility, and you can do this all day long, sitting at your desk or anything like that. But just pushing down with your wrists. You can sit on your chair and do this, pushing back, anything like that. The next thing is just getting into the position. A lot of people, when they come in, they just try to hammer their arms back and bring it back like this. Now, this is okay, but it's not giving me the stability that I need. I don't have a whole lot of shoulder space here. Come in wider based on the grips here. Come in one, I'm externally rotating my shoulder, and two, keeping the elbows up, driving down, and you can see I've got a really good position here. And what I'm going to do is hold this position my whole way through the squat. Driving up with the elbows. So we got the front squat there. Getting into the back squat is a little bit difficult as well if you have a tight chest or anything like that. So one thing you might want to do is come in here, warm up, drive your shoulders back, hold it there for a little bit. Because you're going to want to be good and tight under the bar during a back squat. So when you're coming in for a back squat, you grab the bar like you come in, whoa, drive that up, hold it there, grip this nice and tight. You see how my chest is really important here. And I'm going to come down, take a deep breath, push those hips out, come down, and drive back. So those are just a few flexibility issues that keep people from getting a good squat position, that keep people from performing the squat in a manner that's actually going to help them. So hip flexibility, IT bands, working on your positions, keeping that core nice and upright while you're down in the squat position and not bending over. These are all things that are going to be really important for your success. I'm Chris Albert. This is Warrior Soul Fitness.